Good morning and welcome to SCLO Live. My name is Martin Crowson. I'm joined today by the MD of SCLO Consulting, Steve O'Hare. Morning, Steve.
Good morning, Martin. How are you this morning?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, great, thank you. After a very lovely long weekend, it feels a little bit Monday on the outskirts of Leicester this morning. It's decidedly grey, but other than that, we're all good, thank you.
Well, we'll bring some spark to any viewers that are with us today. And today we are focusing on tender training and development and the benefits of, therefore, tender training and developments within your business. So if you are looking, if you're a business looking to secure more tendering contracts, stay with us today and listen to Steve explain the benefits of training in those areas to train up whether you've got a team of hundreds or just a single individual sorting out your tender bidding. Stay with us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you've not done so already, and hit that notification bell so you'll be the first to know of any future lives we've got planned. And you can also follow Steve on his SCLO Consulting website, which is scloconsulting.co.uk, and Steve's also on LinkedIn and Twitter. So let's crack on, Steve. What sort of organisations or people can benefit from what we're going to be discussing today?
I think you summed it up quite nicely. You know, any sort of organisation that wants to tender or has to tender, you know, would benefit from some degree of training and development and understanding how to do things better. You know, it's very much a broad spectrum. Whether you've got a cohort or a big team of people that, you know, do regular training, sometimes, you know, a fresh set of eyes, a fresh voice, somebody to come and help look at things slightly differently is a real benefit. Now that could be a new team, an old team, a sort of medium team that's been around for those sorts of periods of time, or you could just be an organisation that, you know, you've got one person that does activity for you that you want them to be better, or you're training up a junior member of staff that would want to do that, or, you know, you are the senior leadership team within an organisation and you perhaps do a tender once every 6 months, and you know it's really specialist in what you need to do, and you've got that specialist knowledge of what it is that you want to say, but what you need is that development and training to be able to answer a tender in the way in which the buyer wants you to answer it.
Sure. Okay. And there's this view that everyone that people that bid for tenders are, you know, big corporations with huge teams that discuss ideas and put things together. But in today's world, it really is, you know, an individual, a person sitting in their room doing it on their own for their own company, which they're MD of.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. You know, the size and scale of how of things, you have huge variations. You know, within a tender, you know, it could be an enormous multi-million, multi-billion opportunity where ergo you're going to have a lot of people working on it, or it could be, you know, a couple of £1,000 where one person's going to work on it. So, you know, it's all about size and scale of what it is that you're trying to achieve, or, you know, what the buyer is looking at buying and the complexity of what the buyer is looking at buying at any one given time, as to, you know, that size of people that are involved in the creation of your application.
Yeah. If I'm an MD of a business that's always gone externally for support for tender bidding, always brought people in to talk us through it and go through that process, what's the benefit of me suddenly deciding, right, we're going to do this all in-house now, we're going to take the leap? It's going to cost us potentially more money in the short term, but what are the long-term benefits of doing that, and what would make me make that decision as an MD?
Well, I think there's, you know, without doing myself out of work, you know, because ultimately, you know, organisations come to me to provide that type of resource and that type of support. But for organisations at times, and I think from an SCLO perspective, you know, I'll always be honest with people of, you know, do you get to the point where, you know, working with me, do we outgrow each other? You know, I set SCLO up to be not, I have no desire to have hundreds and hundreds of employees. You know, I'm of a size and a scale, but you know, if you're getting to, as a business, if you're getting to the size where you're continually bidding for things, that it's an ongoing activity, then that's really when you need to consider perhaps creating your own function and having your own in-house team to be able to do stuff. The benefits of in-house is that you've got great control, and they are solely working for you. They're not working for other entities. You've got that instant availability of resource. And over the last sort of 3, 4, 5 months, I've been really, really, really busy, which is great. But unfortunately, what that means is I've had to turn down providing support to people because I just physically couldn't do it. So actually, by having your own team in place and actually having them upskilled to be able to do that activity, gives you that great degree of control, gives you that greater access to your own resource. It allows you to set the agenda of what it is that you want to do and when you want to do it, rather than relying on third parties to provide support for you.
Yeah. And how long could that process be, Steve? I've just made that decision, I'm going to go for it, from having nobody that's available to having someone that I can confidently say, off you go, find out what's available for us, make sure it's the right tender and go for it.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a piece of string, if I'm honest. It all just depends on who do you end up recruiting, who do you end up bringing into your organisation to support with this activity, So and it's how quickly that individual picks things up, but and how long it takes you to recruit the right person. So there's lots and lots of variables in there, but it's going to take a period of time. But we're talking weeks and months, not years and years, So it's a relatively quick process, and then particularly if you think about that wider resource that we described earlier, that you've got, your senior team might want to do a tender. I work with a company that does a lot of care type stuff and provides supports individuals that have got care grants. So how do they spend those care grants? They provide support from that, and they do a bid once every 6 months, and the support that I give them is around what did you do last, what was your bid last time, how did you answer that, did you do all the key things that we've talked about before in terms of answering the question and making sure we're getting our key points across, making it easy for the market to evaluate your tender, and making sure that you go through all those key steps within a bid to make sure you get that bit right. And these guys have just picked up a really good contract with Leicester and Leicestershire councils to deliver that across Leicestershire, and the scores from when we first met pre-lockdown, sort of 2019, tail end of 2019 time to now, have gone through the roof. They're winning hugely on quality and in terms of their responses to answers, whereas previously when they'd won it because they were a little bit cheaper than everybody else, but now it's actually been a complete shift change, and there's a real quality awareness, and they're driving the quality of their responses out and getting a really, really solid marks.
Yeah, you've done this for a long time now. You've supported lots of different businesses through various different tenders. What sort of person with what sort of background do you think would make a good person for me to take on or to develop my team with?
Yeah, so in terms of the person you'd want to take on it, you've got to have someone who's got that degree of attention to detail, because ultimately what a bid is about attention to detail, and it's about having that understanding of and that ability to almost be journalistic in your approach, actually to go and understand what something is, and then report back in a way that someone else will understand of what what you're trying to get across. So it's got to be someone, the person you want to look for, it's got to be have that desire to find out more, and want to know more, and to a lesser or a greater extent question why. So why are we doing this? What does this benefit us? How does this help us? And when we've done previous ones of these, we've talked about those doing words, the how, the what, the why, the when, the who, and actually it's that ability to ask those questions and draw out that information from individuals or teams to be able to then translate those into a successful tender or bid that you need to have.
We won't go down the weeks or months worth of training that would be required to require an individual from scratch up to the time when they're free to get let loose on tenders.
Yeah.
What about how can a team or an individual that's currently doing it improve, and what sort of tips or ideas, time permitting, because we haven't got a huge amount of time today, can you give to those sort of people or businesses to help them improve what they're doing?
Yeah, well, I'll get my promotion in here at this point, but ultimately, I've gone into other businesses as SCLO and done exactly that, and it's going to be a little bit dependent on what the individuals are, or what the dynamic of that individual is, or the dynamic of the team, in terms of what do you need to improve. But in terms of key things that I always find, and it seems to be like almost like the consistent bit, is that analysis of question, making sure we're analysing the question effectively. We're answering, and I've said it already once this morning, but I'll say it again, is that whole bit around answering what you've been asked, not being the politician, and saying what you want to say. Similarly, there's bits around, really trying to understand your business and understand what it is that you're trying to bid for. I think one of my greatest strengths is I'll always try and find out a little bit more, and then tend to have this weird ability to be able to remember what people have told me, and regurgitate it, which it's great for me and it helps me in my business. But there's that bit about going in and finding out more. If don't just take someone's word for it. This is how something's done. Question why. And find out that little bit more. And these are all things that you find with teams need to do a little bit more. So is it spending time with people? Is it going to talk to people? Is it shadowing people? There's a whole raft and range of different things that you could do as a team to be able to improve your successes. And I think we're going to talk about this in a later live stream in the next month or so. It's it's the importance of feedback and following up on feedback and looking at what has been said. So not making the same mistake twice is a really really critical part of successful tendering.
And that involves creating the time within a business to reflect, because it's all too easy for all of us just to go from the day to day and the next thing that's on our agenda and move forward.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Taking that step back and giving yourself that chance to go and look at what someone's fed back to you about something that you've created, and it's a bit like arguing with the referee in football, which does my head in. Being a rugby man, it's not something you ever did, but ultimately, you see people arguing, but you're arguing for the sake of arguing. If someone's telling you something to start, don't do something or change something, then you really need to be taking that on board and listen to what they're saying. Because ultimately, the buyer is the buyer, and if they don't like something that you're doing, stamping your feet is not going to get you through where you need to go. Actually, you need to go and look at it, go away and see what it is that they want you to do differently, so you actually can be more successful going forward.
Is it going to be a busy time for the next 7 months of this year, Steve? We're recording this in the spring of 2022.
It looks that way. It doesn't. The world doesn't appear to be slowing down. We appear as a nation to be bouncing back from the challenges of the last 18 months, 2 years. And there are many different investments, programs, and challenges that we're having, so it doesn't appear to be a let up in anything. And if anything, things seem to be getting busier. And, I speak to people across a whole range of sectors, and nobody really seems to be having a turn down at the moment. Everybody seems to be having a turn up, and I'm pretty sure it's the same in your business as well, Martin, in terms of, it's a busy time that actually we're on a bit of a boom. So the next sort of year or so, I don't see things slowing down. I think there'll be lots and lots of opportunity for everybody.
Okay, we've run out of time, Steve. If people are interested in talking to you further about any of the topics we've covered today, just get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Please drop me an email. Use our contacting on the website. Any of those things, happy to have a conversation around how SCLO can support you be better at what it is that you're trying to achieve, or to continually improve on your tenders that you're looking at and the opportunities that you're looking at, and just drive things forward for you.
And if you have enjoyed today's live broadcast, there's plenty more on the SCLO Consulting YouTube channel, which we discuss various tips for tender bidding and discuss areas like ROAT, adult education budget, etc., etc. So please check that out. That just leaves me time to say thanks once again, Steve, for your time this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for facilitating.
And thanks to everyone who's tuned in today. A reminder that you can find out more on www.scloconsulting.co.uk. Follow Steve on Twitter and LinkedIn, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. And we'll be back soon with some more top tips for the tender world. Thanks for your time, and thanks for joining us. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.